Lesson 17. Voices Beyond the Page. The BARD Mobile Experience. Before voices streamed, before books lived in our pockets, before even Braille and the clatter of gramophone records, there was silence.
For many blind Americans, reading wasn't difficult. It was impossible.
But then, there was Helen. She wrote a letter to Congress in 1931, a letter that changed everything.
In it, she demanded something radical: that blind people deserve books, that knowledge, literacy, and culture are not luxuries for those with sight, but rights for all.
This is the story of that vision. Before we talk more about Helen's letter, it's important to remember, Helen Keller didn't act alone. Much of her journey and her impact was made possible through the amazing partnership she shared with her teacher, Anne Sullivan.
And while Annie's hands shaped Helen's earliest access to language, another woman would carry that torch in later years.
Polly Thompson, who joined their household as a housekeeper, would become Helen's interpreter, companion, and public voice, especially as Annie's health declined.
Together, these women helped Helen move from student to speaker, from a symbol to a leader.
My favorite Helen quote goes, "Alone, we can do so little.
Together,
we can do so much."
3 extraordinary women, defying expectations in an era that had little room for either their gender or their disabilities, changed the course of history, not just for themselves, but for generations of blind and deaf-blind people to come.
Their collaboration was radical, their persistence revolutionary.
And that spirit echoes in the instructional portion of this episode, told entirely by female voices, in tribute to the fierce intellect and shared vision of Helen, Annie, and Polly.
Imagine this. It's the early 20th century. You're blind. Maybe from birth, maybe not. You want to read, but you can't walk into a library. There are no audiobooks, no Braille at your local school, no tactile children's books at the corner store.
Most blind Americans at the time had never held a book they could read. There were a few raised print books, but they were expensive, rare, and heavy, sometimes weighing as much as a toddler.
And literacy? That was a luxury. If you weren't lucky enough to attend one of the few schools for the blind, you were on your own. Many blind adults were told, reading isn't for you.
That's what made Helen's letter so radical. She didn't ask for charity, she demanded equity.
She told Congress in no uncertain terms that books were not optional, they were essential.
To dignity.
To education.
To being seen as fully human.
She wrote, "Books are the eyes of the blind. They reveal the soul of the past, and they give wings to the hopes of the future."
Later that same year, Congress authorized the National Library Service for the Blind. It began with embossed books, then Braille, then talking books on records.
And now it lives in our pockets. It lives in an app. It lives in BARD Mobile.
To walk us through this episode, we welcome a new voice, VGER, science officer, archivist, champion of data with soul.
Greetings, listener. I am VGER, VoiceOver, gesture, enabled, robot. Among my core functions, preservation, curation, tribute. Helen Keller is indexed in my legend file set, entry 001. She was not merely a data disruptor. She was a facilitator of access, a bridge for knowledge built with conviction and clarity. She did not wait for change. She wrote it. Today we carry her legacy with every downloaded book. BARD Mobile is the app-based companion to the National Library Service, or NLS. It brings the full talking book library to your iPhone or iPad. Let us begin with access. If you are already registered with the National Library Service, you will need your BARD login. If not, visit loc.gov/NLS or contact your state library to apply. Access is free to those eligible.
And if you don't know your login? The NLS is surprisingly helpful. I asked 3 sarcastic questions and still got a password reset.
Humor. Logged. Moving on.
Let's start our virtual tour of the BARD mobile app by exploring the toolbar at the bottom and its 4 tabs.
Tab number 1, Bookshelf tab. This is the little home for your downloaded titles.
Tab number 2, Get Books tab. This is like visiting the library or corner magazine stand. It's where you find and get your audio and braille material.
Tab number 3 is the Settings tab, where you can adjust the audio and braille settings.
Which leaves us with the final tab, number 4, the Now Reading tab. This is where you can find the different buttons to control your book or magazine.
So, let's go through these tabs and discuss some of the features on each page.
We'll begin on the Get Books tab, the second one from the left. This is your portal to a universe of stories. Think of it as stepping into a virtual library, except no dusty shelves, no awkward whispers, and no closing hours.
At the top of the page, you will find the search field. Use this to locate books by keyword, title, author, annotation.
Pro tip: search by narrator if you're a fan of a particular reader. If you love that buttery baritone or that energetic whisperer, you can find more of their work using this search field.
Once your search results appear, you can just double tap on a book to begin the download. It usually doesn't take that long to download a title.
It just depends on if Dieter is playing 42 online games at the same time.
Affirmative. Access the More Info button to find out more about the book or if you want to add it to your wish list.
And that wish list? It's not just a parking lot, it's a launch pad. If you also use other devices like the Victor Reader Stream or Braille Sense 6, your wish list syncs across them.
Back on the main Get Books page, just below the search field, you'll find buttons to access lists of recently added books, most popular books, or to browse magazines. You can also find a button to access your previous downloads, which includes titles removed from your device.
Pro tip: if your device has limited space, delete a book when you're done. But rest easy, it's still yours to get again later. No librarian glaring at you for not rewinding the cassette.
After you've downloaded your material, it's time to head to the Bookshelf tab to access it. Think of this tab like walking in the front door and dropping your books on the shelf. The Bookshelf is where everything you've downloaded lives, ready when you are.
Here on the Bookshelf, your downloads are organized into 3 categories: audiobooks, braille files, magazines.
And the great thing is, no due dates, no late fees, no judgment. That's the BARD mobile way.
A standard audiobook uses about 30 to 40 megabytes per hour. On a 64 gigabyte device, you could store hundreds of books, more than some physical libraries.
Once you find the title you'd like to read, just double tap on it to open it.
When you open a book from the bookshelf, you'll land on the Now Reading tab.
And at the top left, there's a Recently Read button. Handy if you're toggling between that self-help book you should be reading and the steamy vampire book you shouldn't.
Also, near the top of this page, you'll find title, author, and narrator info, total time and time remaining, and a progress slider to jump quickly through the book. There's also a bookmarks button, crucial for saving your place, quoting that great line later, or marking your favorite twist. Navigation controls further down the page let you move by chapter, phrase, or bookmark.
Don't forget those audio playback controls.
Noted. The play button is straightforward. Activate it to play or pause the book. For fast forward and rewind, double tap and hold with one finger. You'll hear it scan faster the longer you hold.
There's also a tone/speed control. If you raise the speed, but the voice gets squeaky, lower the tone to keep things pleasant.
Nobody wants chipmunks spouting classic Shakespeare.
Speaking of chipmunks spouting Shakespeare, let's welcome in Mr. Fingers for the demo.
We told you that female voices would present the instructional material.
But somebody has to do the demo.
So, all kidding aside, I am really happy and pleased to try and honor Helen, Annie, and Polly with this episode. You know, when I think about what life was like for blind people 100 years ago, it's really hard to imagine how things are so much different for us now. And a lot of that goes back to the work that those 3 amazing women did back in the early 1900s. Helen, obviously without access to sight and sound, had to rely on reading to develop an accurate perception of the world around her, and she really did have a pretty good understanding of the world without ever having seen or heard it. She truly believed that education was key to the liberation of the blind, and we reap so many benefits from the work that they did way back then. Even before I lost my sight, reading was a big part of my life. I grew up reading many books when I was a child. I spent a portion of my adulthood as a sports writer, so I was a writer of some sort. I think another big side benefit of reading, especially audiobooks, is that it works the auditory centers of our brain. And as we try to use those centers a little bit more, as our vision decreases or goes away, reading can stimulate the brain and cause us to become better listeners overall. Let's start by taking a look at the Get Books tab. And I'll start up here at the top of the page.
Get Books, heading. Search. Wishlist. Recently added to BARD. Most popular books. Browse magazines. Previous downloads.
And so each one of those is a list that you can go through to get those different categories. I'm going to go back up to the search.
Browse magazine. Most popular book. Recently added to Wishlist. Search.
And activate that.
Search. Search field.
And then I'm going to activate the search field.
Search field is editing. Word mode. Insertion point at start.
And let's put in Helen Keller.
Search. Helen Keller. Selected writings. Keller, Helen. Total time 13 hours 1 minute.
And right away it puts us on the very first search result, which is a book by her. Now, because we just did a search for that name, there's quite a few books in here that have her name in the title that are not necessarily written by her. And so when I scrolled through this list earlier, I got through about 40 or 50 and really only found one book by her. And what I was trying to do was try to get a list of all her books. So if I start flicking to the right, I'll kind of show you guys how, if you go down through the list, you can listen to some of these other titles.
More info. Helen Keller. Selected writings. Keller, Helen. Button. Helen Keller. Sullivan, George. Total time 2 hours 1 minute. More info. Helen Keller. Sullivan, George. Button. Helen Keller. Humanitarian. Nicholson, Lois. Total time 3 hours 21 minutes.
And so you can see as you go down through this list, you get the name of the book, you get the author, and you get the total time. If I wanted to download one of those books, I could just double tap and it would start the download. But what I'm trying to do is to try to get a list of all of Helen Keller's books, because I'd like to get the very first one, which is called The Story of My Life. So I'm going to put the focus back on that book at the top of this list, which is her book. It's just selected writings of hers.
Helen, more, Helen, sort by latest, button, Helen Keller, selected writings. Keller, Helen. Total time 13 hours 1 minute.
Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start to flick down and use what we call rotor actions, and I'll go through all of them first to let you listen to them.
Annotation. More info. Download. Add to wish list. All books by Keller, Helen. All books in disability. All books in social sciences. All books in the history of disability series. Activate, default.
And so we're back to the very first choice. All of those actions are in that list. What I wanted was a list of all her books, so I'm going to go back to that option.
All books in disability. All books by Keller, Helen.
And activate that.
Empty list. Downloaded. Midstream, My Later Life. Keller, Helen.
And you can see that's a book that I have downloaded onto my phone right now. I'm going to go through here and locate the book that I'm looking for, which is The Story of My Life.
Teacher, Anne Sullivan Macy. More info. To love this life. Quote, more info. Helen Keller. Selected writings. More info. Downloaded. The World I Live in / More info. Light in My Darkness. More info. Downloaded. The Story of My Life / Keller. Helen / Sullivan. Annie / Harriman. Dorothy / Macy. John Albert / Shattuck. Roger.
That's the book that I'm looking for. That has her writings in addition to some of Annie's and then some of John Macy, who was also a big part of their group. That's the one that I want. I've already downloaded, so I cannot download it. But I am going to find one that I do want to download.
Light in My Darkness. Keller, Helen/Silverman, Ray/Keller, Helen. Total time 4 hours 19 minutes.
And I'm going to go ahead and download that just by double tapping.
Light in My Alert, Confirmation.
I'll get this confirmation and flick through this.
Would you like to download this title? Cancel button. OK button. Downloading. Light in My Darkness. Keller, Helen/Silverman, Ray/Keller, Helen. Downloaded. Light in My Darkness. Keller, Helen/Silverman, Ray/Keller, Helen.
And you heard the little ding dong. That means the book is now downloaded. Great, so let's go take a look. From here, I'm going to go find it on the bookshelf tab. So I'm going to take my finger, go down to the tab bar at the bottom, and locate the first tab in the bottom left.
Tab bar, bookshelf, tab, 1 of 4.
And activate that.
Bookshelf. Select category. Heading.
And from here, we have to select a category. I will show you those real quick.
Audiobooks, 51 items. Audio magazines, 0 items. Help, 1 item.
And so I'm going to go back to the audiobooks.
Audiobooks, 51 items. Today, heading. Light in My Darkness. Keller, Helen/Silverman, Ray/Keller, Helen. Total time 4 hours 19 minutes 35 seconds.
And so right away, it does a pretty good job of knowing what you downloaded recently, and it's put the focus right on there because that's the most recent one that I wanted. I can go through my bookshelf, and each book is listed, kind of like when we were doing the search books, and there's a more info button, I believe, after.
More info. Light in My Darkness. Keller. And How Are You? Dr. Sachs. A biographical memoir of Oliver Sacks. Weskler, Lawrence. Total more info. And How Are You? Dr. Sachs. A biographical memoir of.
And each one of those more info button, I'm going to go back and explore that for the first book there.
How Are You? Doctor. More info. Light in My Darkness. Light in My Darkness. Editor Ray Silverman revised and enlarged this edition of My Religion. RD 7388, BR 4072. Keller describes the influence that the writings of Emanuelle Swedenborg had on her life from the age of 16. Keller wrote some of the passages as early as 1903. The original work was published in 1927 and later revised in 1960. This edition includes an introduction by Norman Vincent Peale.
Fantastic, right? So we can get more information. If I flick through here.
Expand annotation, button. Narrator, Catherine Byers. Total time, 4 hours, 19 minutes. Book number, DB 44017. Read, button.
And there's a read button. So I'm going to not activate that, but you could read the book there. I'm going to go back to the actual bookshelf.
Today, heading. Light in My Darkness. Keller, Helen/Silverman, Ray/Keller, Helen. Total time 4 hours 19 minutes 35 seconds.
So back here on the bookshelf, same kind of thing. If I just activate it.
Light in My Darkness, heading.
We have now opened up the book, and we are now on the Now Reading tab. If I put the focus down here at the bottom.
Selected, Now Reading, tab, 4 of 4.
That tells us that we are on the Now Reading tab, which means we've got the book open, and we've got a bunch of controls on the screen that are very similar to the digital talking book player, if you have one of those, if you've received one of those from the library. So I'm going to start up here at the top, in the top left.
Recently read, button.
Up here in the top left, you can activate that button to get back to books that you have read recently. So it's very easy to switch between books if you want to hop between books.
Play, button. Light in My Darkness, heading. Navigation, button. Beginning of book. Author, Keller, Helen/Silverman, Ray/Keller. Narrator, Catherine Byers. Book number, DB 44017. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds / 4 hours, 19 minutes, and 35 seconds.
Here's a little controller. If I flick up here.
Current position 0%, adjustable. 10%, 19%, 29%.
You can jump through the book quicker.
19%, 9%, 0%. Beginning of book.
Continuing to the right.
Sleep timer, button.
On the sleep timer, if you want to increase the sleep timer, you just keep activating it over and over. I will show you that real quick.
Sleep timer, 15 minutes. 30 minutes. 45 minutes. 60 minutes. Sleep chapter. Off. Stop.
So the sleep timer will allow you to play for a certain amount of time and then stop. Great, so you don't lose your place or get too far ahead.
Bookmark button.
There's the bookmark button. Great for dropping little bookmarks so that you can get back to them. Okay, after the bookmark button, we get into some of the controls for moving through sections of the book.
Previous button. Jump by front matter button. Next button.
And so the previous and next buttons are used to jump through sections.
Jump by front matter button.
And this control right here, right now it says jump by front matter. That's going to be sections of the book like chapters or parts.
Jump by phrase.
You can jump by phrase, which is smaller sections of wording.
Jump by bookmark.
You can also jump by bookmark. So if you've dropped bookmarks, then you can use the previous and next buttons to jump by bookmarks. After the larger controls, we get down to the finer controls.
Next button. Rewind button.
Rewind.
Play button. Fast forward button.
Those three. If you're playing a book,
Play button. Stop button.
I'm going to move the focus to fast forward.
Fast forward button.
And now do a double tap and hold.
By Doubleday and Company.
Forward. 20 seconds. 1 minute. 5 minutes.
The longer you hold it,
15 minutes.
the bigger the
30
jump.
minutes.
Keller's Swedenborgianism.
Stop.
Okay, so those are the different controls for the book. Following the playback controls, we get
Button.
We get a button that we can flip between speed,
Tone.
and tone. And to adjust it,
Tone. Normal. Adjustable.
there is a little adjustable control below that,
-1. -2.
and you can flick up or down.
-1. Normal.
And if I go back
Tone. Button.
and change tone to speed
Speed.
and go to the control after that,
Speed. 100%. Adjustable.
I can flick up
125%. 150%.
and make it go faster. So that's the Now Reading tab where you can control the playback of the book. So I hope I've been able to honor Helen a little bit with this episode. I know reading has always meant a lot to me. As a child, I learned it. It gave me access to education and communication. As a blind adult, it came in an important part of my growth. It fostered independence. It allowed me to do an activity that I enjoyed so much and to be able to do it on my own through the BARD mobile app.
Thanks, Brian. He's right, you know. BARD Mobile isn't just about downloading books. It's about reclaiming something bigger. For many, the first book they heard on BARD wasn't just a story. It was a key.
A key that unlocked imagination.
A door to independence.
A path to dignity.
Books don't just talk. They connect. They build a world inside you when the visual connection isn't there.
Helen Keller once wrote, "Books are my utopia. They speak to me without shame or awkwardness."
Every download is a whisper from her time to ours. And every time we read with our ears or fingers, her voice is still speaking.
Mission log. Archive entry complete.
Helen
Keller, honored.
Legacy
extended.
extended.